Over the last few years, Dual has been impressing us with their diverse line of head units, and their brand new DCPA901 is another to add to the list to watch. This single DIN digital media receiver features an oversized 9-inch capacitive display, Apple Carplay, and Android Auto, all for a cost in the $350 range. Stay tuned for all this head unit's features, some cons, and power testing. Inside the box is an installation guide, quick start guide, single DIN trim panel, wiring harness, RCA audio and video harness, external microphone for hands-free calling, installation tools, hardware, 3 pairs of mounting covers for each chosen depth, a 9-inch capacitive touchscreen display, and single DIN chassis. The rear connections on the chassis include radio antenna, RCA harness inputs, external microphone for hands-free calling, wiring harness for power ground and speaker, plus a USB pigtail. The RCA harness includes Rca Pre-Amp Outputs for front, rear, and subwoofers, backup camera inputs, and Rca AV inputs. Connecting the display to the chassis is a little confusing at first, but ultimately pretty simple. The display connects directly to the mounts on the front of the chassis. First, select your depth position by removing the 4 perimeter screws on the top of the chassis. And pull the slot out to your preferred position. The mount has 2 small slots which are designed for the small hooks on the rear of the display. Plug the harness of the display to the chassis and latch it into place using these hooks. The next step is to install the 4 screws on the mount. Clearly, you can't possibly fit a screwdriver behind the display to do this. Fortunately, the display can rotate 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, allowing enough space to install the screws on each side of the mount. When I first booted up this head unit, there was no Android Auto source and instead it said Android Mirror. This was quickly solved by updating the firmware, the files for which are located on Dual's product page of the DCPA901. Copy the files onto a blank USB thumb drive, turn the head unit off, insert the thumb drive, then boot the head unit back up, and Android Auto will automatically update onto the head unit. Although the display is capacitive, at times it was a little unresponsive. You really need to hit it in the right spots on the screen. The operating system isn't much to write home about, but it gets the job done. The display itself is huge and I'm loving the rotary dial. Commands on the bottom also include hands-free connection, home, and seek buttons. Apple Carplay and Android Auto are this head unit's best features. However, it is not compatible with wireless Apple Carplay or wireless Android Auto, which was a huge miss. But when considering the cost, it's acceptable. Use the rear USB for both apps. Bluetooth allows hands-free calling and wireless music streaming. The USB will not allow music playback from a smartphone outside of CarPlay and Android Auto. In addition to the rear USB pigtail, the display also features a USB port on the side. Using this with a USB thumb drive, it will play back music and video files. For audio, it is compatible with MP3 and FLAC files. And for video, it is compatible with MPEG 1, MPEG 2, and MPEG 2.5 files. The radio tuner features 18 FM and 12 AM presets. This head unit is steering wheel control ready with its input on the harness, which is to be used with a universal interface like the ASWC1. Check the link in the bio for that. It's possible to screen mirror a device to this head unit with its RCA AV inputs located on the RCA harness. Use our mirroring adapter HDMIV-2. For iPhone, use a Lightning Digital AV adapter, and USB-C Android, use the Bueller BUC HDMI 6. Link in the bio for all adapters. The biggest con to this head unit is no customizable wallpapers for the background. You're kind of just stuck with what they give you. Alright, let's test this Dual out and see what it can do. The first test we ran was 2 channels driven at 4 ohms, 14.4 volts, 1 kHz EQ flat. Our audio precision will generate our signal and measure distortion. At volume 35, our HP8903B audio analyzer picked up 19.27 watts RMS, 0.9% distortion, and 8.7 volts of output. We can swap from left to right channels and see the differences. We got 14 watts on the AMM1, and we drew 4.67 amps of current. Down to 40 hertz at volume 35, our HP picked up 19.23 watts RMS, 0.9% distortion, and 8.7 volts of output. Channel swap. We got 16 watts on the AMM1, and we drew 4.83 amps of current. Next, we tested the Rca Pre-Amp Outputs. At 40 hertz, volume 40, we got 5.12 volts of output, with 1.02% distortion. At 1 kHz, volume 40, we got 4.69 volts of output, with 1.01% distortion. Our final test was frequency response. We used our audio precision to run up each frequency. Let us know if you'd take a flyer on this dual oversized 9-inch head unit at the price range around $350. Be sure to go to qualitymobilevideo.com to get all of your car audio and video gear with us today. Links for everything in the bio below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that like button, join the conversation below, subscribe to our channel if you're new, and thanks for watching.